So I have a lot of conversations in my head around video games and how video games should be made, the elements of a video game, things like that. One of the conversations I continuously have with myself is surrounding progression, micro progression, macro progression, and more recently, infinite progression. Remnant 2 is the reason for this spike in internal dialogue, because its progression systems make me question what kind of systems actually work, specifically systems around infinite progression. There are a few examples that come to mind of infinite or almost infinite progression being done well. One of the reasons a game like Escape from Tarkov is so addicting is because of the sheer amount of progression that continues no matter how long you play the wipe. All the little level ups here and there from the abundance of skills at your disposal, the little plus XP numbers you get from performing actions like healing and other things, it's a subtle yet excellently done system. I will get to Remnant 2, but for the moment I want to focus on one of my all-time favorite progression systems. It's been done in various different ways across various different games, but my favorite version of it being done is in Borderlands 2 and Borderlands 3. In Borderlands 2, it's called the Badass rank, and in Borderlands 3, it's called the Guardian rank, because I guess they didn't want the name to be not safe for work. That decision has always pissed me off, but anyway, you level up your Guardian rank by getting XP through the normal means, and on level up, you get to add a small percentage increase to a certain stat, and this is a persistent system across each character you play, so no matter what you do, you are constantly leveling up, and in Borderlands 3, you even have extra traits to grab as well. I really love this system, but not for what it does or how it affects gameplay. I love it purely because I know that no matter what I'm doing, what character I'm playing, and what part of the game I'm running through or quest I'm completing, I am getting XP, and that is going towards my account getting stronger. This is a crucial part of video games for me. Most of the time, if not all the time, I want to feel like I'm getting rewarded for my actions, and a lot of the time in the kind of games that I play, that's through some sort of progression system, whether it be an infinite level up system or more resources or something like that. I do think that this desire for dopamine can be exploited in some games. For example, battle passes are probably the most obvious display of this. In fact, a lot of AAA titles will monetize progression in some way. I know some of the most recent Assassin's Creed games have monetized XP and currency games, which is just one of the worst things I've ever seen done in video games ever. But I'm not here to debate the exploitation of consumers through things like battle passes. I want to refocus on infinite progression and especially its importance in some specific games. I've been playing a considerable amount of Remnant 2, and in a game like this, with an abundance of secrets, challenges, and barriers to substantial progression, you would think that some form of infinite progression would be advised, right? I think this comment from Reddit sums up my thoughts pretty well. This is someone replying to someone else asking about the endgame of Remnant 2. To paraphrase, the issue is the trait point cap. Going from being able to be maxed in Remnant from the Ashes to being capped in Remnant 2 means there's less of an endgame in Remnant 2. Now, if you were able to max trait points, it wouldn't solve all the issues people have with Remnant's endgame. In fact, I don't think there are that many issues with the endgame to begin with. This game is exceptional, and there's a lot to do after finishing the story, and there's a lot that this game does to help replayability anyway, like the mass amount of secrets and challenges and extra things that you can do throughout your different playthroughs, and the random generation as well. However, not being able to continuously add trait points above the current max of 65 is demotivating, and mainly because I think when you deliver a game like this, as much as you want to balance it and make it challenging, at the same time, you've given players an experience similar to a game like Borderlands, Destiny, and other looter shooters, where grinding out your account to be the strongest it can be is, for a lot of players, the main goal. Going through my Steam library, there are more than a few games I'd love to see given infinite progression systems. Some would benefit from, say, only cosmetic rewards, but others might benefit from more meaningful rewards. Back to Remnant 2 though, what if they didn't put a cap on traits? What if they added another system that gave your account or character strength infinitely, and how would that affect the balancing? Often I think this game would be exceptional if they added more endgame content and an infinite or large-scale progression system to match. I have that feeling with Deep Rock Galactic. I feel like if they added an entirely new challenge, redid the perk system, and added more ways to get stronger to take on that new challenge, then the game would cement itself as incredibly replayable, more so than it is now, and I kind of think that way for a lot of games. But do games even need that though? Do games need to drip feed me dopamine through infinite progression levels or something like that? No, they don't. But in saying that, a lot of the time when you play games, their progression systems match up with the time it takes to complete the game. So you're going along with the game and you're progressing, and by the time you get to the end, you've gone through all the progression that you need to. Remnant 2 is a different beast. There is potentially hundreds of hours of replayability here and no tangible system to fully make it worth your time, especially with how tedious it can be to unlock archetypes like Archon. You'll be playing on one character for most of your playtime, and once that's maxed, it can be hard justifying moving to another character, again, because of how tedious it is to unlock archetypes and things like that. Remnant 2 needs to address this for me personally if it's going to keep my attention after I've done all that I want to do in the game now, but if we're being real here, this is such a fucking me problem. Like, I would genuinely like to know how many people there are out there like me, people who get disappointed when they find out the main level of each archetype is 10, because that means that there's less numbers to go through. Like, it's really, really dumb. But it's an element of video games that I really enjoy, especially in looter shooters, where the goal is to get as strong as possible. This has been nothing but meaningless rambles, but I did actually come up with a clearer vision of kind of a conclusion of my thoughts. So I'll share that now and then we can end the video. And these thoughts don't lead anywhere. They're not really, they're nothing more than statements. But I'll just say them anyway, because this is kind of what I learned from thinking about this a lot more, and then of course writing down my thoughts. If a game's progression systems follow you parallel, alongside you as you're completing the game, then you get to the end and the progression systems finish with you, that's often okay, as long as the progression systems aren't restrictive and they're actually fun to go through. So by the time you get to the end game, you're happy with the choices you made along the way, and you were happy with the build you had or the variety in options in progression. The other thing is that if a game heavily encourages replayability, like potentially hundreds of hours of replayability, then it's going to need something to back up that hundreds of hours of replayability. It's going to need a progression system or something to motivate you that's going to help you throughout the next 200 hours of your playtime. It's going to look different for a lot of people as to what they want, in that coming 100 to 200 hours, right? But for me, it looks something like infinite scaling, like I said, with the Guardian rank, or extra challenges, or an abundance of content to get through to keep me occupied for that 100 or so hours. A lot of the time, though, this isn't fully realized, and I think that's the case right now, at least in Remnant 2. Obviously, the devs have been super clear and very communicative with the community, so I think that this is something that is going to get scaled out or fixed in the future, but it's definitely something I think about with Remnant 2, because as I'm going through, I'm at hour 80 or something right now, as I'm going through it, I'm realizing that I'm doing a lot of the same stuff, and there isn't really something to motivate me too much that I haven't already done before. So yeah, those are the kind of conclusive thoughts that I got to. Anyway, I think I'm at the point where I have nothing else of substance to say. So thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter and on Twitch. I appreciate it. Have a great day, and see you later.